All right, welcome to Business as Unusual. This is the live stream where we delve into the pressing issues and emerging trends shaping the business landscape. We're going to get started in just a few minutes, but I want to just make a note that registration was really high for this event. So tell us where you're coming in from. If you've got any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat, and we're going to try and get to all of them during today's session. I'm Kathy Steele. I am the CEO of Red Caffeine and your host today. And for those of you unfamiliar with Red Caffeine, we're a growth consultancy and we build and execute go-to-market plans for ambitious mid-market companies. Our service offering includes a fractional team that is led by a senior level marketing exec to enable a business to scale rapidly without having to hire a wide range of full-time staff members to move that growth plan forward. And for those of you who attended last month's session on customer research, today's topic, the future of SEO, builds on how you can use that type of research in your online strategy. As search continues to trend towards a more user-centric and technically advanced approach, we need to really refocus our strategy on building a roadmap that meets prospects in the very early stages of the purchase journey. And that's something we talked about in great detail with our guest in January, Ryan. So today, I'm really excited to have Victor Lopez, Red Caffeine's resident search expert, join us. We're going to dig into Victor's deep expertise, and we're going to really talk at a high level about the foundation or the fundamentals of SEO at first. Then we're going to delve into the influence of AI, the most popular topic today, on search behaviors, and the strategic content frameworks that we use here at Red Caffeine to engage and convert. Some attendees might be surprised that we're still hearing from our prospects that their customers don't find them online. So Victor and I are hoping that this conversation is an invitation for those to really rethink what you know about SEO, embrace its complexities, and to unlock the potential it holds for making genuine connections with your audience. So let's jump in. So Victor, tell us a little bit about yourself, and give us something that's interesting that's not on your bio.
Well, thank you, Kathy. I appreciate the invite and being here. I've been working on the web since the early days of the web, optimizing websites for years. But something not in my bio. I'm an avid traveler, so I am on a journey to visit all the major pyramids around the world. And this past summer checked off Mexico and Guatemala. So I continue my journey south. So getting away from the screen there, but my day-to-day is focused on search engine optimization.
Oh, well, we definitely share that passion for travel. As you know, I'm currently in Mexico myself. So I didn't realize that there were so many pyramids here in Mexico. I have to make note of that on my
Yeah,
bucket list.
yeah, we can talk offline about those. I'll give you some suggestions.
Sounds Sounds good. All right. Well, so let's start with kind of the basics. I think we always kind of like to start really at that macro level. Can you just provide the audience an overview of search engine optimization?
Yeah, that's a great place to start because search engine optimization or SEO has really changed throughout the last 10 years. Accelerated change, post pandemic. In the early days of SEO is really just about how many times can I put the keyword on this page. Even using tactics of we would hide keywords in white text in the background in the early days, right? But as algorithms have become more advanced, as AI has come into the forefront, SEO has really evolved. And what we do here at Red Caffeine is we focus on what we call the pillars of SEO. And there's 4 pillars that SEO stands on, and every initiative needs to go guided back to one of those. And those are abbreviated by the acronym EAT, so EEAT. The first of which is the experience, and it asks the question: does your website, does your content portray that you have experience in your field? Is your website doing a good job of showing your years of history in the field, that your awards that you have won? Does your About Us page have a nice concrete story about who your business and your company is? So really showing your experience, right? And companies that do that, brands that do that, will have a better chance of ranking very well in Google search. Another of those pillars being expertise, that really asks the question, are you an expert in your field? Because search engines like Google are really trying to put the experts on page one, right? And why do we care about being on page one? Well, upwards of 92% of all clicks happen on page one of Google search, right? And out of those 90%, 70% of the clicks come in the first three search results. So
Wow.
that's why being the expert is so important, because you want to be one of those first few brands and websites that come up in search. So one way that you can do that is by being the expert. So it's great to have a nice, beautiful looking website, you have a good user experience, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your expertise is coming through in your content. Then we have the A pillar, which is the authoritiveness, which is your reputation online. Do others consider you to be an authority in the field? Are your authors reputable? Um, and that's what things like link building come into play. Where do other websites have enough confidence in your own website to point their users to your website? Right. So those people who are the authority in the field will always rank very well. And then the final pillar there that we have is trustworthiness. Is your website being trusted? Is the data accurate? Is it reliable? And not only about the content, but is your website reliable? Right. This is where technical SEO will come into play. Do you have a fast website? Do you have a secured website? So a lot of technical aspects go about being trustworthy. So that's really what a modern SEO strategy looks at. It looks at your website in a holistic view, so that it's not only ranking one keyword or two keywords, it ranks up your entire website and you're a consistent presence in page one. And that's what we try to do here at Red Caffeine. If we move over to the next slide, we can also talk about something that will come up later on, is about intent and how search engines look at intent of your keywords, right? And understanding that your keyword strategy is geared towards the right intent. If a keyword is informational, understanding that you need to provide content that answers all these questions and provides a lot of information to your users. Is it a commercial intent, somebody that's mid funnel in the marketing funnel who is looking for comparisons, right? Comparing yourself to one brand to the other, comparing products in verticals. And then I think for our audience here, the ones that a lot of business owners will care about, the transactional keywords. Those are very low funnel keywords, users that are ready to convert, that are ready to make a purchase if you're an e-commerce site, ready to request a demo if you're a SaaS website. Understanding what those keywords are to be able to cater that content is very important. And then navigational intent just means, somebody that is looking for your website. So is your website branded correctly so that if search engines can guide users to your web page? So that's what we call the keyword intent. And then if we go to the next slide, what we'll see is the tools that we use, right? This is what a lot of people in our audience are probably used to when we talk about SEO, right? But these are more tools, and everything goes back to those pillars, right? Like, for example, technical SEO, it's about the trustworthiness of your website. Do you have a reliable website? The on-page side of SEO really talks about the experience and the expertise, and those are the tools that we use to prove that we're experts, that we're in authority, and we have experience in our field. And then the off-page SEO side, that's targeting that authoritativeness, that builds links from reputable sources back to your website. So that these are the tools that we use in order to execute that modern SEO strategy that we focus around those pillars.
So Victor, it felt like a whole of last year, 2023, was focused on GA4. Can you talk a little bit about, is there still lingering impact that we should be thinking about? Where are we at now with GA4?
Yeah, Google Analytics 4. Wow, that's a hell of a topic to say. It was one of the biggest changes in analytics over the last decade. A lot of SEOs like myself, I'll be honest, were a little bit hesitant to go into Google Analytics 4 just because we were so comfortable with the previous version, Google Analytics 3. But now that we're in the middle of it and the transition has been executed and everybody's in Google Analytics 4, we're really starting to understand how powerful it is, because Google Analytics 4 really gives us a lot of insights into user engagement and how users are using your website. Just to give a brief example, Google Analytics 3 always gave us the amount of sessions or the amount of time somebody would come to your website. But now they've created metrics like engaged sessions. So they tell us, okay, out of these 15,000 sessions that came to your website this month, let's say 11,000 actually engage with your website. So it actually gives you more metrics about the user behavior of how users are using your website. So it's a lot more important metrics and a lot of more user metrics. And also, that buzzword, right? AI, the machine learning that's been incorporated into Google Analytics 4, that allows us to identify trends a lot quicker. It allows us to get insights based on that data that maybe we didn't have insights into before. We're able to do that now with the machine learning of Google Analytics 4. And what we've learned is that as more data comes in, it gets more advanced. It keeps learning. It keeps giving you more data. So quarter after quarter, year after year, it's just going to get stronger. It's going to get stronger. And it's going to be a more powerful tool as we move on.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I feel like, there's been a lot of hype around some vanity metrics, and going back to what we, started our discussion with in terms of creating like a customer or prospect centric approach online. I think really getting more like meaningful data and input through our analytics programs and our measurement is going to help us refine our campaigns and do a lot better job of meeting that customer with content and information that's really relevant to them. So in terms of AI, I think you cited some really good, like samples or analogies when we were prepping for this conversation. Can you talk a little bit deeper about what is happening with AI and what we're seeing? I mean, I think we're still so very early stage, of course, but what are we seeing in terms of this AI and SEO revolution?
Yeah, so particularly the release of ChatGPT in 2022 and its rise to prominence in 2023 brought AI to the mainstream, right? It's a lot of us that for a lot of people that was the first time they heard about AI and these kind of chatbots, and uh, going to these chatbots, typing in a question and getting an answer became very popular, and it was seen as a revolution in the space. But the reality is, AI and machine learning have been used in SEO for a long time now. Google first incorporated AI into their algorithm back in 2015 with something called RankBrain, and they've been using it to rank websites properly, understand user intent, understanding natural language and understanding the topics that you're writing about. As simple as they may sound, we were talking about this during our prep session, right? The understanding of the word and the word or, that in the past you would get the same results, and if you had the word and, right, like if you had the word orange and bicycle, right, you would just get orange bicycles. Right now you'll get some definitions of the color orange and bicycles, because you're looking at different results. So AI is being used by users in the space to try to get answers to their questions, and and search engines are adapting to it by incorporating it into their search engines as well. For example, Bing has a big incorporated chat GPT into their functionality. Google has been testing this platform that we call SGE, or search generated experience, that's still in the testing phases, that they haven't released to the public. But in some cases, it's being used on mobile devices, right? If you use Google search on your mobile phone right now, you may get a little AI experiment that's trying to answer the question. So search engines are adapting to that new user behavior, but in the end of the day, they have used it in their algorithms and the search algorithms for a lot of time. So as SEOs like myself, understand how that's being used in their algorithms, and we then use that to optimize web pages accordingly.
Yeah, and so you mentioned SEG, which we thought there was going to be a larger release from Google this year. Talk a little bit about what's truly going on.
Yeah, so SGE had initially had in Google Labs, which is like their experimental side, had an end date of December 2023. And we were all expecting it to be released to the wider public towards the end of the year. But what we ended up finding out is instead of releasing it, they took away kind of the end date and just left it indefinitely in testing, which is not surprising because one of my teammates, Andrew, mentioned this to me. He said, one of the problems with SGE was that it's still learning, and half the time it would still give the wrong answer. So the confidence wasn't there, right? So it still has a lot of learning to do. But as Google does, right, what they're doing is they'll take those test results and those results from there, and they'll incorporate certain features into search results. So what I expect is what we'll see in the future is instead of getting a whole new experience, we're probably going to get parts of those features incorporated into the standard search. But like I was mentioning, in mobile phones right now, they're kind of testing that out, right? Where if you ask a question on your Google browser on your mobile phone, you might be one of the select few that the AI tries to give you the answer right away.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to note is with all this influx of incredibly advancing our technology, we're still in such a learning process. We're in such an experimental phase. I mean, if Google thinks they're going to do something and then they roll it back or they do it in a way that, the rest of us are following suit. We're just trying things, trying to get, really good things from these tools. Sometimes you get really good things from these tools and other times you just don't.
Exactly. So my thought process has always been always cater to your users and your audience and let the search engines adapt to you.
Yeah.
And always be the thought leader. And if you are doing a good job being that thought leader, of being the expert, search engines will want to put you in front of their audiences. So instead of adapting to them, have them adapt to you.
I think that's a perfect segue to our next theme that we wanted to cover off on in terms of content strategy and how we're using SEO and SEO best practices. So we really talked a lot about kind of the B2B buying cycle, buying personas, how understanding your customers and building that strategy to meet them where they are in that process impact your SEO plan. And at Red Caffeine, we love our planning and content clouds. Can you talk a little bit about how we think about content at that high level, and then how that really impacts the SEO strategy, so it underpins our content strategy?
Yeah, and this goes back to what we said at the beginning, right? Our pillars, right? And your content strategy goes around proving your experience and your expertise. And one of the tools that we have to order to prove that expertise are what we call our content clusters and our pillar content, right? Where we select a three or four or up to five main topic ideas that we really want to focus on as a website, and we want to prove our expertise in there. We will produce a long form piece of content that's really the pillar or the staple piece of content, and then we will support that with with subtopics and really go in depth in these subtopics, so that every area of the topic is being covered. And then through these content calendars, we're able to really lay out a plan that says, this month we're going to cover this aspect of this topic and this aspect of this topic, and continue to build that expertise. Continue to do research on a monthly basis to see what those new trending topics are, and ensuring that we're answering the questions that the audience is looking for, and understanding that every piece of content is not going to cater to every person, but it's important that we cover it so that we're covering that topic in its entirety, so that there's no gaps in that coverage.
So you're saying a little bit more like go deep versus have this, we do everything for everyone. I feel like we're hearing a lot about niches and really being domain experts, and how, like we say 3 to 5. Can you do 7 or 10 content areas, or what are your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
We say 3 to 5 because that's what really, we also understand that, that everything has to be part of your marketing mix, and that there's other channels and there's budgets that are involved. But in an ideal scenario, you would highlight every major topic that your website needs to cover. But you also don't want to get away too much and expand too much in something that's unrelated to your website. Right. So as long as the topic area makes sense for your audience and your audience is looking for it, that's truly what matters, right? Like I said, let cater to your users. Don't cater to a search engine. Understand your audience, understand those personas, and cater that content to that audience.
Yeah, and we've got a question, and I don't know exactly if this fits in here, but we're talking about backlinking. I mean, is this something that the more the merrier, the more we got, the better? Can you talk a little bit about backlinking and this type of content strategy, and in the construct to what we're saying here in terms of pillar content or content clusters for domain expertise?
Yeah. I will. The leader of our link building team, Jason, always tells me this, right? A good link building strategy always starts with good content, right? Providing those natural backlinks that people find useful content on the web that'll say, hey, these are the experts in their field. Let me send my audience to that, right? And backlinking is a backbone of SEO. It gives you authoritativeness on the web, right? It tells others that you are the expert in the field. And there is a such thing as the wrong backlinks can create a negative effect, right? If you're just getting junk backlinks and you're part of these link networks that are just providing you bad links, they can have a negative effect on your website. So what you want to do is you want to find reputable websites to point back to your website, but and part of a link building strategy is doing that outreach and going out to websites that are authorities in their field and having them point back to your website. But also the second part of that strategy is creating very enticing content to where users will naturally want to point, and other webmasters will want to point their users back to your website.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it like a PR strategy. I mean, you can say how good you are at something, but when somebody else endorses you, that really, takes that third party endorsement. It takes your or peer endorsement that takes your confidence level to the next level. I think it feels like it's really similar and relatable to how you'd want to think about a backlinking strategy.
Exactly, because part of the web since its early days has always been a popularity contest as well, right? So the more votes that you have, and each backlink is a vote of confidence, the more authoritative that you'll be in the space.
Right, right. All right. Well, we've talked about it a little bit, but it does segue us into, some of the next section that we want to cover off on a user experience and search behavior. So again, thinking about our customers or our prospects, talk a little bit about answer engine optimization. How does it differ from traditional SEO?
So, I think answer and engine optimization is it's something that goes into an SEO strategy. So the what we call AEO is really about targeting questions and formatting your pages and your FAQs to a question and answer format. So there is a long tail question that's being asked, and then you have a concise answer after it. So while an SEO strategy looks at building your expertise and your authoritativeness of your content, and an AEO strategy is part of that, where we are just trying to answer trending questions and show our expertise through the answer and the question and answer process. So it's more dedicated to, instead of covering a topic in broad and a long form content, it's about what's the question, what's the answer.
Right, right. I mean, I think we're all getting so accustomed to like quick information. We really want to not have to work hard to get an answer for something. So I think that really feeds into the user expectation and the experience that we want in our web searches online. So I think this is where zero-click searches, become important. Talk a little bit about zero-click searches and why they're increasing and really what it means, because you can't really measure a click if you get what you need when it's in a zero click search. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. Zero click search. I've talked to many a business owner who is frustrated by this, right? Or a lot of webmasters that get frustrated by this because, as we're seeing here on the screen, what a zero click search is somebody types in a question or a query into a browser like Google Search, and instead of being guided to a website, at the top you get the answer to your question, right? So here we ask the question, what percentage of users use Google Search? You see that the search engine provided us the answer, right? That tells us that about 81% of users are using Google Search. What does this do? The user got the answer to their question. Therefore, they're probably not going to click into the listing, into the search result, because they've got their answer. But I think as a brand, we need to, and as companies, we need to learn to embrace this. One of our SEO strategists and one of my mentors in this business, Mauricio, the way he likes to look at it is saying, we have to understand the user intent and ask ourselves, if a user is typing this type of question, were they really looking for a website to take a look at, or were they just looking for the answer? And so as a brand, we have to embrace that and search for these questions that are being asked, and be the brand and the company that answers this question, so that when a user consistently sees us, that we're the ones answering these questions, it builds confidence in your brand, right? One analogy that I like to make, right, is this is kind of the payment for SEO, right? In paid media, you pay Google and search engines in dollars to be able to get your placement. In SEO, we pay them with information for the users. And if you're a good partner to the search engine and you're providing them the information that they need to give to the users, then for the queries that are more complicated, that you do need in-depth content, search engines will lead them to those, right? And at the end of the day, that's really what we care about. We care about those more complicated questions that are going to take users who are really interested in our product offerings and take them to our website, and then provide them a journey through our website to convert to either buy a product or buy a service that we're offering. So it's really understanding the intent around these queries and seeing, okay, which ones are these are really transactional, that we really care about driving users, and which of these are just questions that people are looking for the answer to, that this question may be asked by a college student, and do we really care if that college student goes to our website if they're just looking for a quick answer, right? What we care about is that the decision makers from a company and a brand are the ones that have more complicated questions, are guided to our websites.
Yeah, I mean, definitely love the idea of quality versus quantity in so many. And I think the complexity online, we've got so many types of users, so many levels of sophistication and expectation of this self-service, whether, businesses have a more consultative approach to their sales process. I think we a lot of times just forget what they're doing, well before they've ever chatted you or completed an RFQ. It's what they're doing in that search process way in advance of them actually converting to download your white paper or what have you.
Exactly. And that's what part of what we do, right, at Red Caffeine, is we provide you a concrete keyword research and strategy that says these are the informational keywords that really you're just going to write informational content of, that might be eligible for zero click search, and versus these are the pool of keywords that are really going to drive engagement and RFQs or purchases from your website.
Right. So talk a little bit about content, because I mean, it's like a race I mean, it's so challenging, and we're seeing this influx of AI generated content, and there's, truly authored expertise content. How is this going to impact SEO and search longer term?
So one thing is, search engines themselves are gonna adapt to this new world, right? Of it being overflooded with content, and like we saw at the start, there's that experience, right? So a AI search chatbot or content generator, they can help you write a piece of content, and they can help polish up a piece of content to show expertise. But what they can't do is show your experience, right? So always having a somebody within the company that's guiding that content, that's providing that experience and giving those insights will always be very powerful to content as well. So I think as we get flooded with a lot of AI generated content, which I think a lot of us have been frustrated with over the last year, it's always important to remember that the websites and the companies that show their experience through that content is what's going to really do the best. And to use AI tools just as that, tools to improve your writing, but not to guide your strategy.
So agree. I mean, I think we've been using lots of tools for years, but this is really accelerating our ability to create content, and fast track research and things like that. But it doesn't solve for writing good original content and having that domain or knowledge base. In terms of using old content, though, talk a little bit about, what do we do in terms of, like, if we've got existing content and it's still got a lot of great core to it. How important is it to look back at something maybe you created 3 years ago and refresh that type of content?
I think it's always important to refresh your content if it's going to be beneficial to the user.
Okay.
Always be updating statistics to newer statistics. Always keeping it fresh so that it's useful to the audience. Right there are going to be pieces of evergreen content that can just live on your website and will always be relative. But you always want to be looking at every piece of content that's on your website and ensuring that it's as useful as possible to your current audience. Maybe in the 3 years you've changed who you're targeting, so you want to refresh that content to target that new audience. But one thing that you don't want to do is just set it and forget it. Right? It's one thing to look at a piece of content and say, you know what, it's still really relative. We don't need to adjust anything. Then, oh, we wrote this and we just forgot about it. So I think you always want to be refreshing content where it makes sense. You always want to be updating content where it makes sense. You always, for example, a blog, if a piece of content is no longer really related to the business, or really is no longer something that is being offered, then maybe you want to prune it from your website, right? And because search engines always want to see that you're maintaining your pages, and so refreshing is a very important signal to these search engines.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this falls right in line with how we think about doing, like, that content audit to see what we currently have to work with, and then being able to link, new content to older content, but not forgetting to look at that older content and making sure, like, it doesn't say in 2013, or, unless it's really makes sense to say in 2013. So really making sure that you're thinking about updating stats and updating the year that it was created and those types
Yeah,
of things.
yeah, exactly. Also updating just the style of the writing could also be very important, right? With AI and chatbots and voice search, having your content be more conversational is also very important. So in the before 2020, it was a lot maybe just bulleted lists that were being used, and so it's always important to also update the language that's within that content so that it's speaking to the modern audience. So that's also important as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do feel like that answering questions and really thinking about, how we always love to create content where it's really easy to skim versus read entirely. But I think we have to kind of even rethink the bulleted lists and how we're using a question versus
Exactly.
this article includes bullets below. All right, well, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about video. I mean, video is huge. It is really, integral to a content strategy. Talk a little bit about how can we use video and how do we develop an effective video SEO strategy?
Yeah, and I think part of that is understanding just the user behavior and how much video media is consumed in the modern internet, right? A couple years ago, it was about 65%. I think it's now up to 80% of the content on the web is video media. So creating that engaging videos for your website or even on a YouTube channel is very important for your brand. And creating a strat, just like you would with your content, creating a strategy around topics that will cater to your audience is very important. So not just making a video for the sake of making a video, but with a strategy behind it of something that you're trying to incorporate to make it more engaging. From SEO and statistics point of view, uh, search engines are measuring the engagement of your website, and having video media incorporated into the website can help you really up those engagement numbers as well, and can help you in the long term.
So again, I'm going to take you to telling us about really thinking about hosting video content on platforms like YouTube versus actually hosting video content on your web page. Talk a little bit about, how you should think about where you're adding your content or video content.
Yes, because there's SEO. That's a great question, because there's SEO around YouTube, right? For example, and optimizing your videos for better rankings within YouTube and coming up to that YouTube audience and building that audience, which is great to have, because YouTube is one of the leading search engines as well. But it's also taking that and incorporating it into your website, to going back to our pillars, right? Providing video. Media to help prove your expertise, right? If you're if you're selling a product, having videos of those products and how they're used on your web page can be very beneficial, rather than having them offsite on a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I don't feel like people always click through from YouTube to your website unless there's something really valuable on your website that you lean into in that YouTube video. So I personally feel like there's probably a strategy for both: hosting it on YouTube just for that greater brand awareness, and then, using video content in some way, shape, or form on your website as well.
Yeah, I always encourage our clients that if they do have a YouTube channel, to find strategic places for those YouTube videos and embed them into their website as well. And there's some technical things that we can do in the back end with things that we call structured data, to allow search engines to understand, okay, this video that's on YouTube is linked to this web page, and guide the user from that YouTube within search into the web page itself, where we can control that user journey. So there's definitely you can use your active YouTube channels to improve your current website and your current strategy on your website.
Okay. Well, then one last question: transcripts. I mean, I think we're seeing just this real ease of transcript creation through use of AI, some of video conferencing. Everything seems to be able to create a transcript that are pretty good. I mean, not 100%. You still would want to edit them, but what is your view on including transcripts alongside video content?
I think it's very important, and it also has a SEO strategic value to it, right? Because the search engine bot will read through those transcripts and have a better understanding of what that video is, and any keywords that are found within that video transcript will help the keyword relevance of that page, and help the search engine understand how to rank you better. So I am pro transcripts on videos. It is definitely very helpful to have those. Taking advantage of, for example, YouTube automatically creating these transcripts and embedding the YouTube video into your website is a great way to take advantage of that, right? Where it doesn't cost you anything, because it's already being done by YouTube.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would caution is, in my experience, like, I feel like sometimes it spells a name wrong or doesn't capitalize things. So just, doing some or taking some time to edit those those transcripts from video content, I think it really goes that
Yes.
extra mile and
Yeah.
makes sure
And
it's
and
accurate.
just like anything, right? It's a tool. So we always want to make sure that we're using it as a tool, and not just the just not set it and forget it. So that's a great point there, Kathy.
Yeah. Well, definitely. We've used transcripts from our BAUs, and I tell you, just even over the last 3 years, the quality of output of AI versus where it was 3 years ago is staggering, but it's definitely still not perfect. So,
Yeah.
in terms of thinking about the future, where do you see the SEO landscape going? What are some of the tools that businesses can use to stay ahead?
There's a lot of tools that we use and that we recommend. But we've talked about Google Analytics for and continuing to use Google Analytics to understand your audience, using Google Search Console to understand how users are getting to your website, using Google Trends to understand what keywords are trending, and always keeping your keyword strategy refreshed. We recommend refreshing that keyword strategy at least twice a year, or after any major algorithm update by Google. There's a lot of, embrace the AI tools like ChatGPT to help you do analysis and really do a lot of data mining. Use third party tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs that really help you understand your website from a technical perspective and from a content perspective. So continue to use those tools and stay in the forefront. If the tools look a little bit overwhelming, you could always come to us at Red Caffeine as the experts, and we can help you understand the tools that you're using a little bit better.
All right. Well, what about AI and technological advances? There has been talk of AI killing everything, taking people's jobs. So where do we see that uh, impacting the future outlook for SEO?
I've been hearing that SEO is dead. I think every year since I've been in this business. So, but I do think that we do need to take AI seriously, and we have to understand how users are going to be using those AI tools and cater to those tools. But like I said at the beginning of this, always focus on your user, right? Because at the end of the day, that's who matters. So if the user is, if you're always catering to your audience and your users, and you're worrying about making improvements to your website and your content for your users, AI and search engines will adapt to you and will always put you in that forefront. So, and embrace it, embrace the AI and its tools and what they have to offer, and don't just shove them to the side. Learn to adapt and to use those tools. It's definitely going to change. Search, the user behavior, the zero click searches, as we mentioned, right? Getting the answers right away. It may reduce the overall traffic that's going to your website, but at the end of the day, knowing that the traffic that you will be getting to your website is going to be a lot more qualified. So learning to understand the users that are in your website and guiding them through your website is going to become a lot more important, because you'll know have a lot higher intent for your business, right? Because somebody who got past the AI with that simple answer is looking for more in-depth content or an actual product offering that you have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, just even thinking back, like even 10 or so years ago, I mean, just the we used to have like one person handling so much in terms of our SEO strategy, and now we need a team. It's just advancing so much and being on top of all the algorithm changes and all the demands, and it's really really, and then the opportunity, like it's kind of maintaining that base case, and then the opportunity is, I think, where we're leaning in. I'm curious. We did get a question. Neil Patel, of course. What do you think of his keyword tool?
I think every keyword tool has its use. What Neil Patel has really done in the industry is has helped an audience that is not usually in tune with SEO on the day to day, simplify it and be able to use those tools a lot easier. So you may not get the full in depth. The full in-depth kind of results that you're looking for, but it's a great starting tool to definitely to use.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I sort of raised at the kind of the beginning. We're still getting. I mean, it's come a long way. I mean, I can remember 10 years ago being in meetings with clients and they didn't even know what SEO like stood for. And now we have clients that are very knowledgeable, and really pressing us and pushing us to even further their knowledge base. So it's everything in between, but there is definitely a gap in the marketplace knowledge, and a lot of opportunity to meet people at the very basic level, just to understand SEO from that standpoint, as well as this more technical, advanced opportunities we're going to have with the introduction of some of these new AI tools. So, Victor, like as we're thinking, what would, as we're kind of wrapping up the conversation today, what would be like 3 key things you'd want to leave our audience with today?
The first key is something I think I've mentioned multiple times. Think about your users. Always put your users first. Put your audience first. Make changes on your websites and write content for your users, and you will be compensated in the long run. Number 2, embrace the new trends. As a business, as you embrace SEO trends, what that'll do is it'll put you up in front of the right audience that will lead to your bottom line. And number 3, always be learning, right? That things are changing, always be learning. And if you're always doing that, I think you'll set up yourself and your business for success.
Yeah, I love it. We are a culture of learning, so definitely. I mean, I learn something every time we do a business as unusual session. I'm just was thrilled to have you on today, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge base. And thank you, Michelle, for the question. We appreciate the Q&A. If there's any further questions, thank you. We're going to lean into kind of what's happening next, but we want to first really thank our sponsors. We've got Parker, you could bring up the sponsors. Oh, first we want to let people know how to get a hold of Victor if they've got any further questions. We've got his contact information here. Just reach out to him. Just put business as unusual in your communication, and he'll know where the question is coming from. We want to always give a nod to the 3 companies that support the Business Unusual, our sponsors, M3 Learning. They are creating sales superstars through training and coaching. We've got HR Source, the Association for Employers. They're going to help manage HR needs more effectively and efficiently. And then Insperity, delivering full service HR solutions. And then we want to sort of lean into what's next, what's coming in to play in March of 2024. So we are going to talk about branding. So join us to learn more about the impact of branding. So we've been talking so much, and thank you, Victor, for saying that the customer experience is so important, because we believe that also is key in your branding efforts. So we're going to dive into how a well-crafted brand can fuel business expansion with customers and employees. And we're going to talk to a special guest and one of our clients, David Carbon, who Victor knows and is a big fan of Victor's he's the vice president of Lexco Cable. And David is going to share his perspective. He's a third generation leader of a family business with a blend of tradition and innovation. And in that session, we're going to talk about the impact of branding and how it has impacted business growth for Lexco. We're going to step through their experience and journey. And then we're going to talk through the benefits of investing in your brand to enhance your market presence, customer loyalty, employee experience and satisfaction, and the impact it could have on your revenue. So, Victor, thank you so much for being here today. I really, really enjoyed having you today, and it was just so much of a wealth of knowledge that you shared with us.
Thank you, Kathy. It was great to be here. I appreciate the invite, and look forward to doing this again one day.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to have to do part 2. So I'm Kathy Steele, and it was a pleasure to host this discussion today. We hope that some of the ideas and insights that we shared will really help you think differently about your online strategy. And we want to remind you that the key to success in marketing is really understanding and engaging with your customer at every step of their journey. We encourage you to apply some of the learnings today from today's session and keep exploring new ways to put your customers at the heart of your business strategy. So for more insights or resources, please feel free to reach out to any of us at Red Caffeine. So let's continue to challenge the usual and push towards innovative, customer-centric business solutions. Until next time, keep building badass businesses that people want to work for and with. Thank you.